Perfect. Thank you to David and Jenny for that. So, one session left before lunch, and it's a good one after lunch. There's going to be 3 sessions that you can choose from 2 p.m. There's one in here, one in the main hall, but there's also a Google Ad Manager private session in the St. Pancras room. You can sign up to that on our website. You do need to be pre-registered. So you've got the choice of 3 things to go to after lunch. Now, to close things up, we're going to be addressing core topics around the main theme here, which is performance TV. And to anchor this session is John Moulding, who's the Editor-in-Chief of Streamification. So please put your hands together for John and his panellists.
Right, well, we're now talking about TV as a performance medium and a full funnel medium, and we're just going to sort of dig into what that actually means and what we can do with TV in that kind of capacity. And I'm joined by Sam Taylor, who is Head of Performance Marketing and CR at Direct Line Group, which is one of the largest insurers in the UK. Their brands include Direct Line and Churchill, and they cover pets, homes, businesses, cars, and all sorts of things. We have Paola Colombo, who is Chief Digital Officer at Media for Europe International, which is the sales house for the Mediaset Group, covering Spain, Italy, and international campaigns as well. And we have Rhian Feather, who is the Chief Planning Officer at OMD, which is one of our biggest and best media agencies, and I believe the winner of Media Network of the Year at 2024 at Cannes Lions. So congratulations on that. So I'd like to start with Paola and Rhian first, and just, you know, when we're talking about TV as a performance medium, what do we actually mean? So for me, it means driving short-term business effects that we might have thought digital would do. So driving people into websites to make a purchase, download a credit card application, get people into a showroom for a car, sort of test drive or something. I mean, what does it mean to you? Just you're the expert, so you tell us what it means.
I would say it is all of that, but it's also anything on TV can be performance. So if it's shifting brand metrics, that is still performance. So it is, and I think that's going to make this panel harder. So I'll agree that performance can be something else. But I think it's misleading to say that performance is only kind of last click attribution-y type stuff down at the bottom or wherever in the funnel you want to be. It absolutely can be kind of that brand, shifting brand metric as well.
Okay. Paola?
So I agree. So I think, and also I think there's also a broader sense of performance in what, you know, if you look at, for example, fast-moving consumer goods, there's still lots of sales that are registered, and we still have lots of clients that know, you know, with a flight of TV, there's so much they're selling in the shops. And I think what is the difference is what exactly you measure. So to your point, is performance is when you're shifting a KPI and you're optimizing, I think, towards that, whether, you know, it's a short-term sale or it's a brand metric or is attention or is sales off the shelf as well.
Okay, so I'm sure everyone probably accepts the point that it is about driving brand as well, but if we just focus on the sort of the stuff that TV maybe didn't do so much of before, and, you know, where, you know, I think Comcast this morning, James Rook suggested that TV could go after money that's currently going to Google and Facebook with sort of, you know, performance stuff. So we'll focus on that. And Sam, I mean, you have a new role at Direct Line Group, focusing more on performance, obviously, and CRM. So can you just explain what's happening at Direct Line Group and how it's impacting your use of TV?
Yeah, so, I mean, when we talk to through the funnel now, we talk to right the way through the funnel. So TV and video being a platform for us to talk to, whether it be brand, whether it be acquisition, whether it be conversion through retargeting, whether it be CRM, cross-sell, upsell, retention, right the way through the funnel. And I think the reason why I've now got CRM in my remit is that with my experience in kind of media and advertising and performance and brand is trying to get the CRM team to think beyond below the line. Because there is no such thing anymore of above the line, below the line brand performance. It's all about hitting the customers, understanding whether you want to attract them or convert them or sell them more or keep them, and trying to move away from that kind of above the line, below the line performance brand. And so what I've done really is try to say to the CRM team, how do we move beyond email and DM? Because not only is it taking money away from digital spend, but actually TV and video could be taking money away from below the line DM. I mean, it is for us. We've stopped doing DM. since we've been able to target existing customers and prospects via TV and video. So for us, it's very, very different now. We're moving beyond even the realms of, traditional kind of direct response TV into what else can we do with our audiences, with our data, with our technology to drive the right message at the right time, right the way through the funnel.
So do you see TV as a CRM marketing channel then?
I see it as all marketing. So we are doing currently campaigns on TV and video to existing Churchill motor customers to get them to download our app, as an example. Because we've got the first-party data sitting in Snowflake, which is pushing through to LiveRamp, which is our data clean room, and then going out onto Sky Ad Smart, which launched last week for Churchill, on Amazon DSPs, on DV360, out on Netflix next month. So a good range of different channel and platform agnostic screens, if you like, to get in front of our customers when we want to.
Okay. And Paola, I think you bought a company, or Mediaset Group bought a company called Bein2
We
4
did.
years ago.
Yes.
Yeah, and they have sort of very strong capabilities in terms of understanding intent as well as attribution. So could you just tell us what they bring to the party and how that's kind of impacting your ability to sort of help drive data-driven performance?
So we bought them, and they specialize in mobile data. So they have, I see it this way, it's like if they had like a super panel of 8 million people in Italy, 5 million in Spain that accept to be part of this panel, and anonymously they are tracked as they move along, with their mobile phones. And so what we do is we match their data with the data of connected TV, and it could be a linear watching on a connected TV. We still track. Of course, it's all anonymous, consumers. And so what we do is we are able to link exposures on linear TV, connected TV, and then we have a one vision strategy. So we have digital out of home, digital audio, radio, so we can track all the exposure for the consumer along their customer journey. And we can see how the combination of all these media impacts on people then going to a website. And maybe we look at, how many pages they're visiting on the website, how much time they spend, or to physical stores. So, and that, you can see we've been, uplifting visits to a car dealer for X%, and then we can see these people are staying 2-3 hours in the store, so probably, it's close to a sale, and that has been tremendously helpful. First, to grow the connected TV business, because when you have a connected TV started, we had trials of a few thousands of euros, and of course when you have a campaign it's like 500, 600,000 euros, to see the impact of I'm looking at you because you might have a different experience, but it's very difficult to read the signals of that working. And so we built that to isolate what is connected TV bringing to the table in terms of performance and driving people to stores online or offline. And so from that, we built into, how there are different media working together, what kind of synergies, because the great thing is with targeting, if you can see, for example, we have a list of 300% if someone is looking at a connected TV spot and then is hearing digital audio. And now with data, we can replicate that. We can find all those consumers that have been, watching connected TV and target them with digital audio, replicate that, positive synergy to drive more performance.
Okay, so very much for a sort of cross-media full funnel effect for you as well.
Yes, that's what we are. That's the strategy of the company.
Okay, and I presume, Rhian, is it inherent that full funnel would be cross-media as well?
Absolutely. I mean, you can't even thinking about AV ecosystem is almost cross-media now, because it's whether it's walled gardens, whether it's linear, whether it's connected TV, it's quite hard to pull together. So actually, other channels is almost one and the same, that you're trying to do it. Let's just try and do AV first.
Yeah. So if we just focus on the TV part, what TV can deliver in that cross-media plan, I mean, what do you see coming out TV now that's fairly recent on you that helps you drive performance?
I think the ability and ease in which to do stuff is just it's so different to what it was even 5 years ago. But I also say that with a note of caution of actually you could do this stuff 5 years ago, 10 years ago. It's just it was really hard, and you had to think differently, and you had to consider how could that work, what could that look like. And so I feel a bit like stressed for the broadcasters because I'm like, oh, actually, do you know what? Like, you were doing a really good job there. It's just everyone's talking about CRM, everyone's talking about first-party data, and so and then it felt like, oh, aren't they like laggards in development? And I was a bit like, well, I don't know. They were future-facing, especially from a retail perspective as well. I would say that some of the broadcasters were the first people to jump on retail data, and that was years and years and years ago. So I think that TV has done a really good job of keeping up with the speed of technology, because that is, in essence, what has happened. Almost technology has happened, and then how the whole TV and broadcast TV ecosystem has just had to kind of get up to speed faster.
Yeah. I mean, you think that maybe TV's actually overtaken advertisers, don't you, in some regards? In terms of what they can offer, some advertisers are not quite ready to sort of use it.
Well, yeah, and I think the interesting thing with the way that I guess the last couple of years, we've catapulted ourselves into a world where we're doing more data-driven TV. I think there's two reasons for that. One reason probably is the investment that ITV made in ITVX, because that is internal. That is PR in the UK for being able to access data-driven audiences. And the second thing is retail media, because once the FMCGs get on board and they start to realise, they'll say, oh, we haven't got any data. Well, now you have. So the fact that you can target product sales to a customer on TV that happens to shop in Old 8 and Tesco's means that suddenly the consumer goods can now utilise data to drive that. And those two things are catapulting, I think, the advertiser knowledge and experience around what they can do. I think the biggest challenge we've got today really is the fact that it takes a lot of time to get. So yes, it's easy to do, but it's frigging hard to get to the point where it's easy to do. And it's a 2-year journey for us, and I always talk around, in marketing, you invest a lot of time and energy in your CFO to try and get budget and understand the commerciality of TV and advertising. But that's the easy stuff. The stuff that's hard now is the relationship with your CIO, with your DPO, with your head of privacy, with CISO and security, and trying to enable that we'll get the data from A to B in a secure way. When you've got GDPR governments looking down, at trying to challenge how you manage that, and businesses are very risk averse, particularly insurance and finance. So to get to that point, I think we've only been doing this stuff for a few months, but it's been 2 years of putting CRM in my job title internally and going, we need to do things differently, and getting our data from on-prem into the cloud on Snowflake. I mean, this stuff is not easy. And so I think advertisers now are starting to adopt it. But I think you could sit and ask, if there's anyone from ITV in today, but how many advertisers are using first-party data or matched with third-party via InfoSum onto ITVX today? They'd probably say 5 or 6 campaigns in a given month. It's very, there's early adopters involved in it, but it's not really hit a point where it has become easy for many advertisers, because for many advertisers, the 2-year stint on building the capability is not in your lifetime of that business. So I'm not going to invest in that because I'm not going to be here when it goes live. So that's a real problem, I think, and education's a problem. And we spend a lot of time in ISBA, where I lead the TV or AV group at ISBA, trying to get the teams those TV advertisers to understand the amount of investment they have to put in internally to get to that great position where you can just push data through and create lookalike campaigns or whatever it might be.
Yeah. So for your clients, I mean, first of all, how much use are they making of clean rooms, and what is the challenge in getting are they ready to take advantage of all these new toys, if you like?
I think they're ready, but I think there's also this, and when I hear Sam talk, I always get really excited. I'm like, oh yeah, because you've got loads of data and cross-selling and all of that good stuff. But then I go, what is the role that each of these channels is playing here? And at OMD, we've got some quite big clients. We've got some clients that have more restrictions than other on data. We've got some clients that are in a very different journey of where they are from a data perspective. And so actually we find that at the moment the AV ecosystem, to Sam's point, is almost like it's too hard to use that first-party data that might have just become available. And to what end? Because I can still reach them using third-party data, or I can still reach them using program targeting. And so actually, it's more about how all of it comes together. And then we start thinking about, okay, and there's an interesting piece of brand and performance. And Direct Line Group clearly have it's almost like at what weight do you move brand and performance? And I think there's a real skill in understanding if I turn this dial, what does that have an impact on sales today? And equally, what impact does it have on sales tomorrow? Because then actually there could be another dial over here that goes, I need a bit more of this because I've lost my tomorrow people. So I think, look, we've got brands that absolutely use first-party data. We've also got brands that don't need to use first-party data because some of the other benefits of TV and AV is that it's broadcast, and that is one of its biggest powers. My favourite thing about TV is free wastage. That's still, to date, my favourite thing about TV. And you can't argue about it. You can't, I don't care how much data arguments you can put. If it's free, I'll take it. So I think you just have to think differently about the channels.
OK, so Paola, you're trying to get away from free wastage in the sense, I mean, even on linear TV, I think on this stage last year, you were talking about your affinity-based targeting on standard linear, where you're using sort of intent signals or, purchase signals to sort of know what people are buying or what category they're in for, and then finding out where they watch television and then sort of replanning around that. Is that right? I mean, for anyone who didn't see that, can you just talk us through that very quickly?
So I think what we're doing, because we are structured, so we have two teams. One is looking after all linear media, and I am looking after all addressable media. And so we're trying to look at TV coming from digital. So we said, okay, we can do all this cool targeting on connected TVs and on digital second screen apps. So why can't we do the same on linear TV? And so the first thing we did, we took data from linear watching happening from connected TV. So we call it, we have an heartbeat. So every minute we collect data what people are watching when they're watching linear TV through HBB TV. And so we model it, and then we look at, we took a target that we had on linear TV based on, consumption or purchase, or, if they're visiting car dealers, for example. And then we have an algorithm predicting where is the highest probability on linear TV to find this target. And we create a special position on linear TV to reach those consumers. The second thing that we've launched, and it has been live in Spain last month, is contextual targeting to TV. So basically, we read the content of what is being aired on linear TV, when linear watching on connected TV, I should say, and then, for example, that was a campaign for Nivea for a cream that was rich for people, doing sports outside, to keep your skin hydrated. And so every time on screen you had either a person with a perfect skin or someone doing sports outside, we would have this display creative on screen with that specific cream, and then you can drive interaction through QR codes and things like that to drive the funnel. So that's, I think, the approach we're taking. So we're taking linear TV and see whether we can do something that is more digital-like, more addressable, and because I think there's a huge value, because you have huge audiences on linear TV. But that's what you need when you need to target very specifically. If you don't have, start for a high base, and then you start taking niche audiences, you end up, with very small numbers. So that's what we are trying to do.
Okay, and are QR codes effective, very quickly?
They are. I don't know your experience. We're finding them, of course, there's a scale of effective. Of course, a click is way more immediate. But we are finding that more and more that people are getting used. That was one of the changes in COVID. Before, when people were asking, can we just put a QR code? And we were like, yes. And, we had, we remember a campaign, we had 0 interactions. It was like, come on, how can you come? Yes, 0. Now it's actually growing, and it's working. We did some sampling. It worked really, really well for some brands, to the point we had to stop the campaign because they ran out of samples. Because that's the other thing with TV. When it works, it drives huge volumes. And, we've recently, sorry that I'm closing because I'm taking too much space, but we've recently become an advertiser ourselves. So we launched a self-serve platform for small, medium businesses. So we have a target of 5 million companies, and we launched TV campaigns. And what we realized is that you get this huge volume of leads. We're literally flooded with leads. And I think what comes with performance, and I think to things you both said, that we had to learn, by doing, is that you can drive performance with TV also if you're structured to manage what comes after the lead and what comes after, the first level conversion, because not all of the leads were the same, because it was very broad. And so we had to learn to classify them, to treat them in different channels, to have a CRM with different tactics. We had resellers or, outsourcing some of the handling of this volume of lead. And that actually becomes effective. Otherwise, if you had waited just for the leads and waiting for the calling, thousands of people.
Okay. Sam, I just want to bring back to this point about free waste that Rhian mentioned, because you used to sort of say that you had a dilemma whether to target or just accept the free waste. And I think you've said recently that you kind of reached a tipping point in terms of targeting now. So,
well, I think it just comes down to the objective of the campaign and, what's the most cost-effective way of reaching your audience in an attentive way. And so, we still look at, with all of our campaigns, what's the most cost-effective way to deliver your attentive reach target. And that might mean using linear TV and creating wastage. It might mean using first-party data to target your existing customers. But all reach is on a curve, right? And it's the economics of which is the most cost-effective way of delivering that reach. So for us, it might be that we might have a linear campaign and add YouTube to it, or it might be that we go straight to CTV on some niche audiences, existing first-party audiences, or using second-party data to enhance our data to create lookalikes or whatever it might be. So I think what it comes down to really is good old-fashioned media planning. The challenge you've got really is with the walled gardens, going, actually, how do I manage my unduplicated reach? Because I can create an audience of customers, Churchill customers in the clean room, and I can target them on Google DV360 or on Amazon DSP or Trade Desk or whatever. But what I can't see,
same 10 people
what
60 times.
Well, what I can't see is how they reach across them, and that's the biggest challenge you've got. So because even if we're using first-party data, you've still got wastage or increased frequency or whatever. So I think the challenge we're facing into now is really endorsing the kind of the art of and the science of media planning and going, actually, what is the most cost-effective way? Because even if you look at screen media, you could put cinema on top of the top of that reach curve, or you could put obviously addressable TV, VOD, connected TV, and even digital out of home at the end of it, because it's screen media at the end of the day. And it's the most effective way to deliver the outcome that you need for your brand.
But do the new data smarts that you've got, all these sort of clean room matches and stuff, do they make targeting more effective than it used to be? Because targeting used to cost more.
Yeah.
So you had to sort of justify it on more performance. I mean, are you now getting to the point where you're making better use of targeting?
Yeah, no, I absolutely. I think that if we'd gone back half a decade, we'd go, actually, the cost of targeting makes linear TV much more effective because the data quality wasn't as good as it is today, using first-party data for us. So you're buying media that might be 5 times more expensive, but the data isn't 5 times the quality of a ABC adults or whatever on TV. But because now we're using first and second and even matching on third-party data, then it warrants the premium, because ultimately you're looking for the most effective outcome. And so it's choices you can make across the different platforms to do that.
It might take you a couple of years to break even on your couple of years of putting the data infrastructure together, though.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Okay.
Pushing everything at it now.
I've got one more question for Sam, then Rhian, and then I'm going to open it up just for a couple of minutes. So think of any questions you've got. But Sam, very quickly, are you using targeting now to kind of keep away from people that wouldn't be good customers?
Yeah, I mean, the beauty of, we talked about brand, but the beauty of using data is that I can now, we probably wouldn't use data to do targeting for awareness, but what we are doing is using data for suppression on awareness. Because if you think of the marketing funnel and you tip it on its head, we have a CRM strategy that allows us to go, let's drive more value from existing customers. Then we've got an acquisition strategy, let's go and acquire those that we can drive more value from. Then you've got an awareness and consideration strategy, which let's go and attract those customers you want to acquire that will drive value from. So you're literally shifting the model upside down and going, let that CRM strategy drive up funnel to then decide where you're attracting. So for us, for example, if we are Churchill exists on price comparison sites, the whole chunk of people in the market that you get a quote on a PCW and we wouldn't show up because Churchill doesn't write that business. So our challenge to the brand team is think data and think who would you want to suppress, because at the end of the day, it's down to the effectiveness. Now, it's highly likely that the cost per thousand on linear might be more cost effective than targeting, but unless you do the maths, you don't know. Unless you test it or do geo-testing, you don't know. And so what I'm trying to do as a team is, regardless of whether it's top of funnel or bottom, is just encourage that way of thinking.
Okay, and Rhian, if we're going to sort of try and follow people through the funnel and drive them through the funnel, presumably we need to know where they are right now in the funnel, what they've just seen, what we're going to do next with them, where we're going to show the next ad. I mean, it sounds exceptionally complex. And do we have all the data coming in real time? Do we have the smarts and the decision making to do that?
I think we've got the idea, and I think this is some vision of the dream that every marketer wants to sit to. But I think we're now in a moment of creative flex as well. And I talk a lot at OMD about a piece of influencer creative could well be a piece of bottom of the funnel, I'm now going to click and buy it, or it equally could be an awareness piece. And so you've got this change in kind of, okay, I've got my big 60-second TV ad, that's my brand, and then I'm going to cut that down, and that's my consideration. I'm going to cut that down and make sure I can click, and it's not that. That's not life anymore. So I think there's lots more to learn about the role that influencers will play on the video ecosystem, because without that, because it's such a big shift, I don't think, and I think it looks different for audiences. I think younger audiences will look very different through and across the funnel, depending on creative, depending on platform, depending on time length, all of that, versus a more traditional 55+ audience would. So no, I don't think we have enough smarts to know right now, and not least because we can't measure it. Not least because there's walled gardens that then don't speak to other walled gardens, as Sam touched on. But I think the ability for the industry to get behind something to get there is certainly really exciting. Like, listening to Sam talk about how he uses data is a really exciting concept. You can obviously turn everything around and go, well, how is it for this? And every advertiser will work really differently, but I think there's so many opportunities for advertisers to go and learn something new about their brand and how full funnel planning works for them.
You touched on the creative as well. I think it's interesting how we now look at the job of creative in that world, in that ecosystem, because we are known for having really good, strong advertising ideas, TV advertising ideas. And I think when we're looking at this kind of through the funnel activation, you have to move beyond the advertising idea to the brand idea, because that idea the thread has to run right the way through your comms. And quite often an advertising or TV idea doesn't do that. That challenges things like celebrity endorsement, big IP, because if you're paying for every execution, if you're delivering 4,000 bits of content a week, then you've got to think very carefully around, well, what does that mean for my brand strategy, my brand idea, through to the creative idea, and then through that. And I think that, for me, is another way that this whole through the funnel data-driven strategy does have an impact on the industry that we've always worked in, because it's easy to deliver worse creative. It's easy to deliver creative on the streaming channels without the full clear cast approval process. And no one that works in marketing wants to be that guy. No one wants to move money out of the broadcasters. It's easy to run an ad tonight rather than buying an A/B and then having a plan 2 months before you even go on air. So all those things make it easier. And I think the challenge for us as an industry, really, with the creative and the media, is to think hard around how do we really make AV in this new world work, because it's a brilliant platform, and it can, as I said, can work right the way through the funnel.
Okay, we've got any questions? Okay, anyone at all? Okay, gentleman up there, fourth row. Just wait for the mic if you can, it's right there.
Hello, Matt Hill from Thinkbox for this week at least. Fascinating session. The whole morning has been brilliant. Really, really enjoying it. So there's a lot of conversation really about how TV can make it easier for advertisers to do a lot of this more complex sort of data-based work. Are there any sort of specific requests that you'd like from the broadcast? I'm probably going to regret asking it, but are there any specific requests of things that you think we should be doing to make clients' lives easier? Now, no, Sam, Origin might be one of those things, and I think we're getting to a better place and talking. So maybe Origin doesn't need to be the answer, but outside of Origin, what other things could we be doing to get to a better place.
Okay, let's start with Rhian, then we'll have Sam, and then Paola can just say whether it's realistic.
Okay. I would like broadcasters to hand over some data for planning. I can plan to a spot in the middle of I'm a Celebrity, and I know exactly where I'm going to be in that centre break. I know not of any other data. I can buy audiences, I can buy third-party data, but the ability for me as a planner to get that data and actually really pull it apart is harder and harder and harder. And I think the problem that we have with that is that the ability to apply different people's brains to data now, and the ability to apply to different products, is now so limited because you don't have the data coming the other way. When I have Barb data, I can really question every broadcaster, anyone on Barb, and I can go, what happened there? Because I can see something happened there, and I want in on that. And I want that to be able to plan too. And so without that, I think that we just have this really broad brushstroke. Everyone's plans become quite generic, quite boring. And the broadcasters kind of like tell advertisers how to plan, rather than sometimes some of that ingenuity comes from advertisers going, I want to do that. It's not possible, but look, I can find the data to make it possible.
There's a certain company that, or TV business that has quite a bit of viewer data that perhaps we should get into Barb or something like that. Anyway, just speculating.
Okay, Sam.
So it's interesting because I think embracing the fact that now that advertisers and marketers need to be talking to media owners, particularly broadcasters, around their marketing strategy. How can you help us deliver our marketing strategy? How can you drive profitability for us as a business? And step back a bit from some of the debates over, and we've had it this morning, debates over the long term and the short term, because the pendulum will always swing from short to long. You know, we have demand today, demand tomorrow that we have to create, but now it's how do we embrace the end to end right through because there's a huge amount of sequencing stuff that we could do now with, as I said, you know, if you take brand and performance and CRM as a sort of Venn diagram, customer is right in the middle. So what's our customer strategy and how do we leverage the TV is a fantastic platform to deliver against that. So that'd be my first thing. I would say quickly though that one of the things that surprised me going through the data, do this process, is that is data agreements, because the broadcasters insist on them. And actually, for me, going through the whole process of onboarding, live ramp, but all the complicated, complex scenarios and data sharing agreements we do with those, and then once you've done that and you've got what is essentially encrypted data going through, you know, pseudonymized through that process, and then having a data agreement, meant for me that, and it's only initially with Sky because that's who we started with, that meant that opened up a can of worms within our security office going, well, hang on a minute, that must mean it's unsafe then, because Sky are asking you for an agreement. And that's the same with ITV. So I think that as we start to embrace this stuff, we've got to make it easier, because for someone like me as a marketer, I have to deal with the Chief Information Security Office and Privacy on a daily basis, and they're looking to catch me out. You know, we're using legitimate interest for TV campaigns for existing customers, which is great. I mean, our opt-in for email is 25%. Our match rate on TV is 80% on live ramp. So it's a massive difference. So, but we've got to work with the broadcasters, with the media owners to help that on that journey and transformational journey to allow it to continue working the way it could work.
Okay, so Paola, can I address those, or just tell us something you're about to do that's going to help?
On different points. So on data, so we are releasing. It's true that we don't release. Potentially, there's more data out on the linear part than there is on the everything else. There on Italy, our jig, our Italy is extending to second and third screen, and we hold it because we wanted the official jig to be able to measure. And that's happening in Italy. So people will have the same data that they get on linear TV, also on connected TV and second screen for TV content. And I think we are cautious, and I cannot speak with all broadcasters, but I think there's a point where we're a bit cautious on providing data, because I think learning from the second screen digital, I think all the inventory has been a bit butchered by all several third-party measurements, and sometimes they've been using for negotiation. So we're a bit cautious if we want something that is certified to be out there. But I think the path is there. Some markets are more advanced than others. So Italy, in our case, is more advanced than Spain. But I think it's getting there, but it's great It's a great feedback, and you do have a point, I understand. On the full funnel, that's what we operate. In order to do this all one vision strategy cross media, and that's the best scenario when we sit with the agency and the advertiser and we get, this is what is keeping up awake at night, this is the problem we need to solve, and we can put all our media, and we offer measurement suites as well, from econometrics to attribution. We do a lot of times we do creatives as well. We do spots for our advertiser, again, together with the agency, because sometimes performance creative are not exactly the can-winning creative, and we can help them. We know the TV language, we can help them creating those. So we do that. I realize it's not for everyone to do, so we have a huge team of sales, marketing, and consultant doing this piece, and people doing analytics and so on. But I think it's a great approach, and I think for broadcasters, love to be in that position, when you're given full visibility.
Great. Okay, thank you very much. And thank you all for listening.